So yeah, I effectively wouldn't think there could ever be such thing as a complete science of criminology without all of us in jail, including the scientists drafting this complete science. The way language is used, anthropologists, various kinds of anthropologists, have argued with good, well-formed arguments that religion is like a language virus. And for example, the easy switch from a descriptive relative according to now tense to a prescriptive predictive sense is used and will happen a lot from even religious authorities or employers. So I'm very much against this gathering around people telling them that their own genes are going to cause them to commit crimes without hard crimes without remembering it. And then it never makes, the idea can never make sense. And instead you exert too much energy watching yourself, and don't learn to drive, and these stupid companies effectively ruin your life. And how mad you get when you learn in the end that their judgment is based on stems from the fallacious claim that ethics are contingent, even after the oaths they've taken for healthcare. The fallacious claim that their morals are contingencies in relation to theological claims of supernatural beings existing. This is also the reason why I think, see, whenever they won't say it to your face, but if you'll see it as their faces break out to look like the Queen's or Gary Cairns's face, which like he wants to be the puppet, the koala puppet that the pigger fists in the classroom, singing "Hey Jude" to his wife Judy, like, "Judy, I wish you were a boy and your balls dropped and I'd make it better." The reason why these men discount the damage that they do as while being observers in a scientific social study is their personal beliefs about the existence of supernatural gods observing them, and they simply haven't applied the correct reasoning to eliminate the sense of veracity to the claim that their existence is an ideal worth believing in. This was the horror and the terror. Albert Einstein used the word God in not even a deistic sense, a completely non-anthropomorphic sense, which is like, you might spit at the Centrelink guy who's, got a few missing teeth and he's running to the bus stop and he stubs his toe on a rock and he stops for the next 20 minutes yelling, "Ah, you fucking rock, you fucking stupid rock, fucking up my day, fuck." And the language is misused there as if to imply that the rock had waited with intent to sabotage this man's trip to a bus stop. But in principle, they're no less fallacious when they're conducting studies or experiments going, "We want to help." By the logistics of their God belief that you can just simply die, and they'll be thinking of you going to an afterlife environment that comes from a time when the map of the earth was the transference from the views of two-dimensional plain pieces of paper, No one can point to where heaven or hell is direction wise. So holding out hope for them here is like destroying and having it your navigational senses and attacking a compass. But you watch them, and it's what they say when they are alarmed or come to surprise. They go, "Oh God, oh holy shit, and oh Jesus Christ, what's happened?" Oh, look at it. And it's the recourse that they take intellectually when they're to try and make a new consideration of some kind. But what doesn't occur to them is what would we learn if we turned and we took all of our best grasp of logic and pointed it at our supernatural God claims and demanded that a true case be made for the existence of our supernatural beings, and such and such like that, because you've got these people going into, so you got Lucifer and God fighting each other, and then we're just going to observe you to in case you got two personalities. Interesting. You think that of someone like me, but you believe in God and a devil fighting. Isn't that interesting? No, it's your basis for hypocrisy, and it's why part of why the Religious Discrimination Act exists. You don't go to a psychiatrist to have your soul saved by Jesus Christ. That's one thing you fucking don't do. I didn't work in pharmacy to have my to learn what it means to be a child of God either. So I'm fucking tired of it. Like they come up with the gayest profiles. The profiles prove more about them and the dumb shit they're doing. Like video causing illness now. Yeah, you're looking at screens while you're doing your research. You're not wanting the public to know detailed depths about your research and research ethics, because there'll be horrendous riotous protests about Privacy Act violations. The way that these workers, employers try to calculate the best way to handle you when you're working for them is by making estimations about your sexuality. So, they'll try and say they're doing police checks and whatnot, but trust me, Roger Tall is a Freemason with beliefs that, the occasional population cull might be part of God's will. We can start afresh, new batch people. The weak will die, strong will survive. Perfect front to own a pharmacy chain while holding these beliefs. It's more heinous than I think than like your cardinal pals, because these people don't have we're offering you free food and coffee, community service, Vinnie's cars, and charity that then gets exploited by certain corrupt people. And I'm not asking you to fall into the trap of going, well, if it's religion, why doesn't it do this have the same effect on everyone? But yeah, uh, if a religious person is holding that a deity in which they believe is the ultimate cause of anything, and that life on this earth is just a test, you watch them take an interest in psychology. It even stems, the practice even stems from a psyche, the prefix, which is the word for soul. Um, so they're disrespectful towards brains because of religious and it can be this holier than thou attitude that they have, because the amount of people that I've heard back, and from what I've seen myself, it not only tells you that there'll be ways that they can have you surveyed or monitored in your private life, but it bears out in the counseling room, where you would be willing to actually talk through real problems. But it's like that idea put forward in Zeitgeist that there were the same arms dealers dealing to both sides of the Vietnam War and introducing new war rules, saying you can't pursue an enemy beyond this point of grass. If you see them out run past this tree, stop pursuing them. You're not allowed to shoot them in that area. The idea being that the war is sustained, and the idea of a very similar thing happened in the case of these disorders, and it's at the extent now where people's complaint is that, and then they say that someone like me is a good conversationalist, and they compliment me and say, "Oh, you deal with obstacles," when I consider myself, I'm burnt out now, because I have to hold on to an account going back to right to the start of this decade through to now, a bunch of vendettas to settle and sort out. But yeah, the amount that they're discounting, like, uh, I think if they say, because religion has gone, yeah, we're on a globe, that now their Bible, so any one of them that has said, oh, mind you, Isaiah 45:7, any one of you that has said that the Bible is God's perfect and infallible word, and also that God loves you, definitely has lied to you. Because Isaiah 45:7 says, I create evil and I cause woe, I the Lord do all these things. So, the woman who converted me initially was budding up after my stepfather had died, and then adding talk of Jesus died for you. And so your stepfather's died, and there's this Christian woman going, oh, but Jesus died for you. Jesus died for you. So I think if look at your own circumstances and then wonder, for Christian woman starts telling you that Jesus died for you, so you feel start feeling guilty. Additionally, for that, just call her a dyke. Um, Truly, she should have she earned that should have earned that dismissive, pejorative noun, at least, just for trying to tell you that what we can't rule out was possibly the unjust killing of an innocent man. So long as that can't be ruled out as the most probable hypothesis of what actually transpired, doesn't mean you follow Jesus. Doesn't mean you call him your Lord and Savior. Doesn't mean you believe he has magic powers. But it does, once you've contended with the story, mean that there are potentially things that we can learn about the avoidance of false incrimination of innocent people, and that is ultimately where I feel the Gospels, and it's in addition to books that criticize the Gospels and the scale from conservative, infomercial, evangelical, Hillsong, Bible's every word in the Bible's perfect and true, to the more liberal critics who point out at contradictions and point out that these ideas were in paganism centuries before they appeared in Christianity. They're hardly original or unique to Christianity. Christianity is just trying to make off with them all to yeah, to mystics, sorry, not mystics, modern mythicists who argue. Richard Carey is one of them, and he argues that Jesus was essentially a vision of, or an imagining of Saint Paul, and that he never existed at all. My point here is when we say who he is, and Carey has tried to engage Professor Bart Ehrman in debates via email, and Ehrman's yet to reply. Ehrman is a professor that's a deconvert. He still teaches studying the New Testament, but he does so as a religious deconvert. So he holds the position that a man Jesus existed, but that supernatural claims pertaining to his person are fallacious and not to be believed in. So, I mean, if the question, do you believe in Jesus, just means do you trust do you think there's veracity in the idea that a man, Jesus of Nazareth, existed? But as far as saying who and what he was and what he stood for goes, there's debates about that because of the passing of the amount of time to pass from the gospel that's credited to Saint Mark. We don't know we actually don't know that those are the true proper names of the gospel's authors, that they truly were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So yeah, but what I would say you should try and do, people are saying that they're trying to get counselling at mental health services, and psychiatrists aren't saying a fucking single thing to them. They're just essentially getting them somewhere with drugs whacked into them, or prejudice on the basis of past notes, getting them picked by security guards and manhandled, irrespective of their gender and irrespective of their observation of the rights of the people at the facility. So that, I think, is fascism again. And yeah, religion, it means, you can just, then they're off at the staff party, chinking their wine glasses together, going, well, we're like gods to them, and they dilute, and they start to believe their own bullshit, and they come to us for help because we know what matters. We're like their overlords and their gods, and they would have what psychologists would call the God complex. But yeah, no, it does corrupt, and I mean, yeah. How could I I possibly make a case in judgment of you, and while holding to the idea that the claims of Christianity, a religion like Christianity, are true or not to be scoffed at? A God that charges you 15 shekels for a rape, and if you pay it, you get a wife out of your rape victim. this God's not worth believing in. We already know, and it is a well-established fact, that if Stanford prison experiment had to be called off on moral grounds. It was a sociological experiment that involved taking a sample of 40 people, all who had jobs and reasonable lives. I think they didn't know each other prior to being assembled in this group of 40. But then they were placed inside a prison, simulated recreation of prison, and 20 were given guard uniforms, the other 20 were given inmate uniforms. And so within days they were finding that guards were getting violent and verbally threatening towards inmates. Inmates were trying to neck themselves in their prison cells. An additional psychology experiment that I remember from college was about two graduates with masters in psychology and psychiatry go and admit themselves into mental health facilities, and within being there for a few hours, they've been slapped with about 6 different diagnoses, and yeah. So if you want my opinion on what's causally at the root of this idiocy erupting in human behavior, I submit to your consideration that it is theology and religion. Religion is about making the most absurd assumptions, and then marching forward with the vanity and the audacity to say, now I've got the solution to save the world. What you did was practice the art of caking an assumption, or a foundation of assumption. Build a house on sand by the shoreline. Assumption after assumption after assumption. What's your most importantly held value or belief? The existence of God. How do you know that? By assumption. And then I've had the odd feeling, just this feeling. For the goodness of your friends, please do some drugs soon. I just had this feeling. Ugh, fuck's sake. But yeah, what hypocrisy. A person who privately believes that non-existent beings are guiding and helping them in life, and they've been chosen by these beings to preside over and politicize what's entailed by how to care for you. Your foundational principle, upon which you've hung your ethical theories as contingencies, are the claim for the existence of non-existent beings. Okay, so you're presumptuously lying about the nature of existence itself by your own admission. So that's what you taught me, Roger Tall. And do you like your wig on my Facebook? It suits well the shape of your face these days. Yeah, so Lincoln said it is an established maxim and moral that he who makes an assertion, or he or she that makes an assertion without the knowledge of whether it is true or false, is guilty of falsehood, and that even the accidental truth of that assertion should neither justify nor excuse them. Which means, if I say, oh, this is true, and I don't know that it's true at the time that I say it, then even if I panned out to be right, it would still be an immoral thing, because you aren't being true to yourself and you're being true to the external world. But what does this do to religion instantly? If the cherry pickers will scavenge and go, well, I wasn't aware that such a verse was in the Bible. Oh, well, then you weren't to make an assertion pertaining to the evaluation of the Bible as a whole and call it the perfect and inerrant word of God. In fact, you're not supposed to do that without, as the statement implies, you're familiar with every word in it. So you've committed precisely that fallacy that Lincoln pointed out. If you say if you're cherry picking fucking lunatics, just stop making claims about the Bible as a whole. Then, if you haven't read it all, and tell kids the truth. Say, I haven't read it all. Maybe there's some disgraceful stories in it. Yeah, so I started when I got to my philosophy discussions. I started out by saying, would you please make a case that if someone can make a case here that Christianity is true, I'll convert. And I watched how they would operate and say, well, because of what Psalm 14:1, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. It's not even what atheism is. It's just the absence of theistic belief. But you may be uncomfortable with saying, because it is intellectually dishonest and it's emotionally dishonest and manipulative too. And in Christian women activists, you can see tremendous humility where there's a lot of refusal to exercise dogmatically bigoted judgment over others, and then there's the ones trying to resell the murder of Christ, saying things like he died for you, and in terms of ethical admiration of the word to you, it's like it's whorish, and particularly if they start believing simultaneously in psychiatry and Christianity together, then now you have behavioral models. Jesus is your Lord, Savior, and behavioral model. Then, well, who was Jesus' closest female love? Suddenly, all Christian women are being what? Psychologically encouraged to have the heart of a whore, heart of whores, whatever that means. Estimate that. Jesus will love you more if you have the heart of a whore. And yeah, I'm just it's a bunch of freaks involved in social science research, beings they know don't exist. They think are looking after them and their interests and helping them to look after and take care of of people like you and me, and you're like, fucking hell, your supernatural beings don't exist. Even explain to me why supernatural is not an oxymoronic term. I mean, if I say a coffee mug is supernatural, well, it's not, because it generally it seems to mean beyond nature to call something supernatural, or something that can't be accounted for in naturalistic terms. Then you can't say anything about that particular thing. You can only you can't say it's supernatural because, and then give any reasons, or else you've provided a naturalistic account, and the word supernatural would no longer apply. So because of that, it's talk of Jesus. Saying, I've heard this same activist who would say Christianity is about going around saying Jesus died for you, fucking disgraceful insult. And now from the more recent conversation, like, yeah, it seems a lot of people are trying to humanize Christianity. So where do you draw the line? Do you want to go back to saying the Earth is flat, and that like orbital satellites are a deception, that Google Earth is a deception, that we're being lied to by NASA, the Earth is flat? Or do we keep knowledge spruced up to modernity as much as we can? Because if so, then these claims for the existence of these gods really belong to a different age than we presently live in, and they stand to corrupt. I know from my experience in pharmacy, I'm getting told by employers, "Oh, your way with customers is very admirable," and tra-la-la. I'm getting called counter guru, but the majority of what seemed to be my success in those circumstances was not based on ideology that I would hold to. It was based on ideology I'd assessed and rejected and dismissed. I like being an anti-idealist, because yeah, it's funny. It's so funny watching people like Gary and Roger go, "Oh, look, this person here, yeah, that's a speedhead. They just want their Dexies. We'll get them onto what's right for them, love. God bless them, and puts them on antipsychotics that have $1,000 rebates per month. Also, the speed pills they were originally prescribed cost the pharmacy $9 for a bottle of 100 speed pills. So, certain packets of Panadol are more profitable than the speed pills. So how funny that they happen to have and harbour. There's this whole entire ethical system that completely parallels the principle. If you try to ask, how do you describe the integrity of your ethical system? All you end up leaving with is the solution. The more profitable the medicine is, either upon direct sale or health insurance commission rebate to the pharmacy, then the more moral and the more appropriate the medication is for a given person. And that's not biased at all. Well, that's the sort of stuff that you'll expect to wind up with if you're believing in beings that don't exist, to start out with, And these beings are taking care of you, while beings that don't exist are taking care of you, while you are apparently taking care of and forming a tremendous idealism, a pyramid of idealism over the people. How well are they taking care of you? Would you go to God and Lucifer and help them out with what if they're constipated? Would you go and treat them for constipation? Show us how you're doing that. You're scientist. Yeah, the one element to why the Freemasons are secretive and isolating themselves from society is the fact that probably pr- primary school kids could put them to shame in debates. But yeah, it enables them to rationalize. Like it's not really that different to and don't get me wrong. There's very impressive content in the domain of the intangible, but this theology is based around supernatural beings existing is really similar to a kid in a sandpit with some dolls. Um, except that in that case the dolls actually did exist. These people's supernatural beings. So, and then they say them and their morality comes from the supernatural beings that don't exist. Well, they're lining themselves up to conform an ideology built and based around money too. And in the Freemason Church, their comprehension of Jesus as a martyr means, if they think they've spotted a martyr, and their main eye for doing this and misjudging people for martyrs is through the stupid notion that everything you listen to is morally prescriptive. Even a song about something detestable to you, they'll think is morally prescriptive. Or if I say Sieg Heil, you're all supposed to apparently think that I love Adolf Hitler so much. I want to play with his micro penis and gas some Jews. The way that they are disposed to very, very stupid judgments that are an encroachment of our federal rights to expression movement, and then it will extend, and this will happen at mental health facilities now. You might want to just speak to a counsellor or someone like that, and you'll run the risk of getting tackled, manhandled, and forcefully drugged, and not counselled at all. And in the psychiatrist's mind, they can just dismiss. Well, God help them, God bless them. I'll remember you in my prayers. Do not be praying for me. I do not want to be prayed for. See, it's gutless mentality. That's going. I'll go off on my own and pray for you because I got nothing to say in response to the points you've raised. Well, this was me trying to understand your religion because I'm already more familiar than I need to be with how much damage can be done because of religion, and it's admitted in your religious text itself, as well as being implied by the logistics of the character of the Creator, that he would have to have intended this evil, or else have lacked the power to prevent it. That just by pushing this sort of faith, there's a different sense in the way that I've come to understood using the word faith. I don't go around and proselytize because I don't believe in a final solution. In Christianity, evangelical Christianity has that. It has that in common with Hitler. We have the final solution and the means to save the world. No, I think there's such a thing. I think there's keep these fuckers entertained while the world ends. And I hope they don't forget how to wipe their ass properly as they awaken from the non-existence of their gods.